Thank you, JT. Honestly, ever since we've all come on Clubhouse, we've learned so much from JT, and we've seen him go through such triumph phases. And thank you so much, JT, for taking the time and telling us the strategies that work for you. And he definitely touched up on the fact that what type of brand do you want to be, and how to go about getting your clients, how to close your clients. So thank you, JT, and everybody on stage and in the audience. Please do follow JT. Press the bell sign and put it on always so you can be notified whenever he opens the room. Hopefully, Clubhouse switches it up a little bit because they've been hating on some of the bigger people these days. So we have some new people on stage. Cameron Scott, Vishal, 10K Cards, Ross, Sarah, David, nice to have you guys here. We're discussing digital marketing that's working in 2021. We've had some amazing gems that have been shared, 7-figure, 8-figure gems. And I think the people are really, really, really taking in this information. So I'm leaving the stage open as an open panel. And it's open to any of you to tell us some of the strategies that have worked for you in digital marketing 2021.
Yeah, I just think JT said something so important. Doing the opposite, everyone wants to automate things, and I feel like we're losing human touch. I feel like that's part of the reason I think this app has such a sharp reaction for people. You get on this app and you're actually having social interactions with people. And it's almost like everything that Facebook and Instagram has been trying to simulate is fake when it compared to an app like this, because you can't fake, for example, Ross's level of knowledge about marketing or Chris's level of knowledge about automated funnels. And there's just something about this app where you can tell by someone's tone of voice and how rapidly they respond to things, and how people are just drawing on experience, right? Which doesn't give them time to prepare or lean on a facade, And I just feel like that's such a struggle right now for so many people, because, I know this one guy who did, for example, virtual events are like commodities now. You know what I mean? It used to be like virtual events, if they were framed properly, would be huge and cool and fun and unique and have a little spin to them. It's just really interesting to me. And I just feel like how can we scale, or maybe it's not possible. How can we scale trust through digital marketing, through human touch, actually connecting with people? So I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I just figured I'd chime that out.
And okay, Chris, you go. I was going to say really quickly, just to even add what you're saying. Now, not only are the challenges and all this being commoditized, but so are courses. Online, everybody has an online course, and
dude, nobody believes that they can do an online course. This is the challenge. Is there a way to solve that? Because the cost per acquisition is going to skyrocket.
Correct.
Because everyone's going to feel like I can't. And this is the thing about Clubhouse, is I think it's a delusion. I think Clubhouse has this buzz in the beginning, and it'll be easier. It'll be interesting to see their user statistics after this becomes a habit in people, 6 months down. Because this is my 7th week on the app. I just looked back at my calendar, and it's still not really a habit, but it's kind of. 6 months though, I feel like that's when a user will go through an entire love, hate, and then decision cycle, And I think the delusion on Clubhouse is you can get all this information, but it's not it's not intentional and focused, and there's no tools. You can't see anything. You can't see any of my hand movements right now. You can't see a screen share. You can't see tactical to-do items. And because it's such a time suck, I feel like people can delude themselves into thinking that they're going to get all their questions answered and problem solved using this app by learning from wise people. But I don't know about you guys. I am a purchaser of courses. I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 3 years on courses and coaching programs, and almost all my biggest results have come from that. From a structured setting where I can actually take away a mental paradigm, one mental paradigm shift to something through a guided learning experience. And then once I absorb a guided learning experience, then I can seek out experts to take wisdom and then have that wisdom magnetized to that paradigm. What I notice is not as useful is just taking random wisdom without any form of an underlying paradigm, because then it has nothing to stick to. There's no context, right? So it's just so interesting to me that, you know, Chris, to your point about online products, it's like, dude, where I'm like, where does it go from here? I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know. I just don't know the answer, but it's just.
I think JT hit on it a lot, and we're actually focusing that on the platform, that it's literally communities. Like, you have to build communities of like-minded individuals that understand each other, and that's essentially why, like, Facebook groups and these challenges work so well. But I think that also feeds off the love in terms of copywriting, status, love, security, you know, improvement. So it's literally building these communities. And I heard John Ledger say that too the other day, where he said when somebody had a complaint, it would only be 20 people that would really help the person, or they would have 20 people to help a certain amount of people who are calling in customer support. Like, you're gonna need that humanification, which we do have on ClubHouse. But yes, everyone's going to have courses. Like, everybody has challenges, webinars, advertising spends going up. I believe it really comes down to owning that first party data and building communities around whatever it is you're doing. But this is Chris. I'm done speaking.
Yeah, hey, this is Mike Alden. You know, I agree with that 100%. You know, and I actually call it connection capital, right? And this app itself this is one of the most beautiful things about this app, is because so many of us have been yearning so much for that connection, for that ability to relate to others, and to be able to hear people's voices from all over the world when we're all stuck in our homes. I mean, I know this is a theme, and I'm not the first person to say this, but as you when you talk about scaling a business, Bill, you were like, well, I don't know if it's scalable. It's definitely scalable. You know, it's just not as scalable as just, you know, clicking a button or sending out an email, as far as having those individual one-on-one connections, you know, with your customers. And when you hear about companies like Zappos, you know, it does work. It's an expensive proposition in the beginning, but long term, you heard me talk about it earlier about the overall customer experience. If a customer enjoys, you know, communicating with a human, which they do with whatever it is, right? The overall experience and the long term and the lifetime value of that customer, and also, you know, their ability to stick with you for whatever it is, like JT was talking about earlier, about maybe potentially selling some other products or an upgraded product. They're going to stick with you more because they did develop that connection capital with you. And so, you know, whether it's scalable or not is almost irrelevant at this point. You know, I learned a long time ago, spend a little bit more time with your customer now, rather than trying to get to another person who might not even be your customer. My name is Mike Alden. I'm the guy with the smiley faces in the back.
100%. You know what? I just wanted to say something. So about a week ago, we were in a room with Naval Ravikant. So he's one of the guys who was the early investors in Uber, Foursquare, Twitter, even ClubHouse. And him himself said, he's like, how much information are you really absorbing on ClubHouse? Now, not to say that there isn't a lot of knowledge and wisdom being shared. That's without a doubt. But if you were in Bill's summit today, you realize that the level of being able to pay attention and listen to someone, like, to be honest with you, Bill, man, like, I gotta give it to you. I've met a lot of successful people in my life, but you're one of the most brilliant people, and I got to see that on the summit today. And I think it's quite remarkable when you do align yourself with someone who you could learn from and can sincerely help you, double, triple, quadruple your income, because they've been there before. They know what goes wrong, where not to invest, what mistakes that they've done. And you're only paying a fraction of the price to learn these things. So I think the number one thing that I'd want people to know in the audience and on stage is like Chris said and like JT said, do know your tribe. Learn who you want to be around and who's lifting you. But also understand, don't fall into the mentality of being on Clubhouse and just trying to get information everywhere, because you'll catch yourself getting off track, taking a completely different road than where you're supposed to really go, and it's going to take you a lot longer. So do take the time and listen to the intellect and the experience and align yourself with someone. And don't be afraid to pay for service, because that's the difference. Is you'd want a consumer to come to you, and you are also a consumer yourself, and that's how the world works. So this is Sammy, I'm done speaking.
Were you going to say something, Marlon? Yeah, it's crazy, man. And gosh, I'm so hard on myself sometimes when I do deep dives like that. I appreciate you saying that, Sammy, because I always after I do massive output like that, I always kind of criticize myself. So I'm on the come down right now. So I appreciate that. I just think it's so interesting that, it really does all come down to trust. And I guess the real question, we're talking about digital marketing, the real question here is, what do human beings really want? Different question than what do they need, right? Because digital marketing is a vehicle for a business to connect with people. And a business is not a person. So the thing that, in my opinion, makes digital marketing hard is a inanimate object, which is the entity of a business. The intention is for that inanimate object to become a true object. And then it's one thing to communicate that in the real world. It's another thing to take a business, which is a culmination of people, ideas, standards, culture, core values, processes, right? And then to have that communicate to a human being is so hard. And that's why I think personal branding sometimes can be a cop-out, right? It's like an interesting viewpoint. It's like sometimes personal branding is a result of an inability to create a message between an intangible and tangible object, business and a person. It's not Jeff Bezos's personal brand that gave Amazon product market fit, similar to Airbnb, similar to Facebook, right? Like there's a certain threshold. It's very interesting when you look at the Forbes 500 or the 500 richest men in the world billionaire list. Most of them don't really they didn't do it through personal branding. They had viable product market fit, right? And timing, right? You guys see where I'm going with this? Like any feedback on that? I just feel like you can learn as many tactics as you want about how to market on digital, but it's philosophically it's hard. It's really freaking hard. And you can focus on the analytics, but it's how do we make this human? How do we make connections scale between a business and a person? Any thoughts, anyone?
I'd like to add, this is Paulina speaking. So this is purely my opinion, just based on my lens of how I view things. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, just an opinion. So I've been studying different brands and involved with brands from an investor perspective. What I've noticed over the past 21 years that if you look at brands from a perspective of not selling products or services, but selling one thing, emotion, because people are emotional creatures and human beings are looking for one thing, to be seen, loved, and heard for, and being recognized that they're fucked up and still having that. If there's a way that you can emote a feeling, not from a personal brand perspective, but just when a person is in a presence of any product or service that makes them feel like that, then you don't move products, then you move something in them, and that's how people stay loyal to the brand, right? So as an example, if you look at Harley Davidson, right? Honda has been manufacturing, motorcycles for many, many years. What did Harley Davidson do that was different? They essentially created a different human. What do I mean by that? They created a brand around a human being that would ride a motorcycle that would feel free on an open road. It's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's something that human beings can connect to. They didn't focus on the features and the engine and all the other stuff that Honda focused on. And it elevated the brand to a different position. If you look at Airbnb, they did exactly the same thing. They gave a feeling of being a digital nomad, traveling with other like-minded people without borders. It creates community. The brands that make you feel like you belong, like you're part of something. I believe that that's longevity and that's loyalty. And to do that with any product, no matter how you're delivering, is a challenge because there's always innovation, there's always something different, bigger and better. But if you look at Apple, right, people are lining up the door. So I think if you could look at humans and understand the psychology of a human being from a lens of what is a person really craving, how do they want to be seen, how can a brand do that for them, I think you will win long term. I'm Belina and I'm done speaking.
Wow. Hey, Bill, this is to add what you were saying. I think there's a couple different things, and like to going off what Polina was saying, Harley Davidson, that's like a status, iPhone status. If you can improve someone's status and get rid of the risk, aka the fear of disappointment, that's one of the way people transact online, as well as, like I said earlier, the love, putting them in a community, but getting rid. The number one reason people don't buy, just like online, is because of fear of disappointment. I also believe there's another kind of business where it's actually not as hard because you create your own rules, and that's essentially almost creating a new category design. For instance, like an iPad or Uber or Airbnb. I think I mentioned this earlier with 5 Hour Energy, but the ones who, essentially own the top percent of the market, they have created a new category and essentially create their own rules, and the transaction is less frictionless. Like everyone knows now, like, hey, order an Uber, you know what that means. But when it first came out, it wasn't about getting the taxi. It was about being like, hey, Bill, check this out. Boom, in 5 minutes, a car pulls up in front of us. That was the status thing. So there's a different aspects, I believe, in terms of business. But you heard me in our little group chat message. I said exactly what you said. The 4 hour work week thing. Like, no, it's really fucking hard. You go from working 40 hours to 60 hours, and it takes a lot of work. So I think this, we can go on and on about this, but there's a lot here. But this is Chris. I'm done speaking.
Bill.
Hey, Bill?
Go ahead, Robert. Yeah, so we'll go Robert, and then who was next? Let me just see.
Philip James.
Yep, cool. Yeah, we'll go to you, James, right after Robert, okay?
Great, great to see you here, Bill. And definitely, just to echo what CEO said and everybody said, I know you don't like it when people compliment you, but the knowledge that you drop is just off the scale. I didn't know you probably about 10 days, 12 days ago, but you have shown yourself to be not only knowledgeable, but really giving and authentic as well. And I think the reason it's important, there's a couple of things. I wasn't going to say this actually coming to the stage, but it's just something I wanted to say to you, Bill. I heard you say the other day, I think it was about 2 days ago, we were talking about brand. It might have even been yesterday. And you were being very honest. That's the other thing that's really good about you. You're very honest despite being so successful. And you said, I'm still figuring out my brand. I'm still figuring out that brand. And there was this kind of real, even though you've got your stuff together, but you're a work in progress. And the thing I wanted to say at the time was that what's really interesting, this does all tie together. I know you don't like compliments. And here's something I want you to hear, Bill. But the compliments, they are actually telling you your brand. Because I've listened to people talk to you over the days, and they say great stuff about you, and you'll sort of bat it away. But there's jewels and gold in that information as to this is what you are, this is who you are, this is the impact that you have on people. And I think that if you were to, even if just open up a space in your mind to accept those compliments, not in an egotistical way, but just to really hear them and say, wow, this is what's going on, because you're very humble, I know that. But I think that would really give you even greater insight to be able to absolutely own your brand and turn all of the value that you give into 100x what it currently is. So that's just one of the things that has just come to me at mind. I wanted to come to the stage and say. But the other thing, just piggybacking off what you were mentioning before, it sounds like you're in a really philosophical mode, and I love that, because the brilliance of it, and for everybody,
whenever I go through lows, I ponder. But so keep going. Yeah.
But it's brilliant, Bill, and I want to share the power of that moment for not only yourself, but everybody in the audience, because this is the human side of it. When you see people who are really, really good, really, really brilliant, they're human as well, and they go through ups and downs, highs and lows. But when you see that and can experience that and you go on the journey with them, I think that in itself is part of the thing that helps you to stand out. And that's the thing that is somewhat scalable, because by inviting people into that authentic journey, saying, this is what I'm trying, this is how I'm feeling. And I know it's been said before, but I think we're seeing it in real time, and it brings that connection and helps you stand out. But I'll end with a thing that I came to the stage to say, which is, piggybacking off what you said, there's this almost perfect storm, and I love this philosophical mentality that you're in, because I love that space. But there's this perfect storm at the moment whereby there's a lot of people who feel they can get a lot of information for free. We've never had more information available to us as humans. As we know, we consume more in a week than we consumed in a lifetime 100 years ago, and we have access to more than that. But then also, people don't know what they don't know, and they also don't know what it takes to get the results that they say they want for themselves. And this is the perfect storm, which is it leads to this quandary, because if more and more marketers, people who have expertise, are sharing more, then the consumers feel that they have enough to kind of go off and do it themselves. But
you are hitting on something huge. Okay,
that's what I'm talking about, Bill. So this is it's the perfect storm of so much information being put out there. Now consumers thinking, I've got enough to go off and do it myself, not knowing what they don't know, meaning that we know, you and I, Bill, Chris, CEO, we know that 99% of the people who go off and do it themselves are not going to make it, but they don't know that. Now, add on top of that the fact that ClubHouse comes and you've got everybody vying for attention. So now there's even more value being dropped, more bombs being dropped. So people are going, I'm going to eat this all up, right? That's my American accent. I'm going to have all of this. I'm going to chew this up. I don't need to pay anybody. And you know what? There's this, the 6-month, 12-month cycle that we see of people who kind of sit down, take down the notes, think that they go off and do it themselves. Those are the ones who will be disappointed, because it is not easy. And I think that perfect storm is what I just wanted to come and say about info being out there. People accepting it for free, but what do you do as the influencer? What do you do as the person who has the knowledge? Do you continue to pour it out, knowing that people might pick it up and think that they can do it? Or do you scale back a bit? Because is it actually serving them? These are some philosophical thoughts. Love your honesty, Bill. I know you're in a low right now, but we're all pouring into you, and please hear it because this is your brand. This is Robert, brother with a blue shirt, big smile, yellow background. Over to you, Bill.